At the class reunion, my secret wife, Wendy, was arm in arm with a younger classmate, their faces close together. The crowd cheered, shipping this May-December romance enthusiastically. They said Wendy was independent and didn't need a man, that only a young and handsome school hunk like Gary was worthy of her. She didn't deny it, just smiled shyly in apparent agreement. At that moment, I had an epiphany. I decided to leave the divorce papers on her bedside table. Wendy, drunk as a lord, knocked on my door, her eyes red-rimmed. "Simon, believe me, you're the only one who's ever touched my heart." Ding! Story Shots reminds you to click the subscribe button at the bottom right corner to read the full novel. Before entering the hospital, I was looking at an online post about levels of loneliness. It said that undergoing surgery alone was the highest level of loneliness. Now, I'm here by myself, waiting for surgery. General anesthesia requires a family member's signature. I had sent a message to my wife a couple of days ago, but this morning she suddenly refused, telling me she was flying to the States for a magazine cover shoot and that I should figure it out on my own. My wife, Wendy Griffiths, is a singer with a bit of fame, gradually gaining popularity beyond her niche audience these past couple of years. 3 years ago, she said she wanted to focus on her career and keep our marriage private. I agreed. 2 years ago, she asked me to step back from the spotlight and fully support her. I agreed. A year ago, she said she was too busy, we had an argument, and ended up living separately. With half an hour left before I'm wheeled into surgery, my phone buzzes with a message. It's from the paparazzi. He sent me 3 voice messages and a photo. I open the image. The man in the photo looks young and naive, while the woman is nestled against him like a bird. Her smile is as warm as the afternoon sun. Though it's just a simple embrace, it somehow conjures up 1,000 words of intimacy. My finger switches to my chat with Wendy. "Me, Wendy, I'm having surgery tomorrow. Can you come sign the form?" This message was sent on the evening of October 5th. She replied on the morning of October 7th. "Wife, I'm about to fly to the States for work. You'll have to sort it out yourself for now." Me, "When will you be back?" There was no further response. She didn't reply to me, and then she appeared in the paparazzi's lens, in a loving embrace with her soft boy. I switched back to the paparazzi's chat window, where a smug voice message awaited. "Mr. Lawrence, you wouldn't want her scandal to be trending tomorrow, would you? A public image of single and pure, but actually cheating and changing partners like crazy. What do you think will happen to your artist's career that's just starting to take off?" I took a deep breath, my cold fingertips tapping out a few words. "Name your price." 3 sentences later, my savings were down by 6 figures. As I entered the operating theater, I noticed other patients surrounded by family members fussing over them, while I lay there all alone. As the anesthetist administered the drugs, I thought to myself they didn't need much because I was already knackered. The next day, when I opened my eyes, I found myself surrounded by doctors who all sighed in relief when they saw me finally awake. "You slept for over 3 hours. We were terrified," said the young anesthetist, his eyes red-rimmed as if he was about to cry. The girl in charge of anesthesia was called Yvette Roberts. If Wendy Griffiths was as cold and unreachable as a distant star, proud and aloof, then Yvette was like a wild rose in a white coat, naive yet bold, shy yet forward, unbelievably sweet. During my hospital stay, I ran into her a few times. One moment she'd be secretly wiping away tears, the next she'd be red-eyed and changing into scrubs to enter the operating theater. Once, as I passed by the theater doors, I saw her asleep on the floor after a 10-hour shift. The hospital's air conditioning was always set low, so I draped my coat over her sleeping form. When my gentle movement woke her, her eyes fixed on me intently. It suddenly reminded me of the ragdoll cat I had at home, its jewel-like eyes gazing at you with complete devotion. At that moment, she looked like a cat eyeing its prey, her eyes sparkling with undisguised desire. "Mr. Lawrence, may I ask for your contact information?" she said, already holding out her phone before finishing her sentence. I smiled gently. "I'm married. although the relationship isn't great. Her gaze immediately dimmed, her eyelids drooping as she let out a soft, disappointed sound. I found her adorable then, and pretended to sigh regretfully. Ah, it's a shame we're about to start divorce proceedings. She suddenly looked up, and I could almost imagine a fluffy tail behind her, raised high with excitement. It had been a week since I was discharged from the hospital. Mr. Lawrence, Miss Griffiths is at the X bar tonight, my driver casually reminded me. It's a reunion for your drama school classmates, all showbiz people. The bar was known for its privacy, a favorite haunt for entertainment industry folks to unwind away from the prying eyes of the paparazzi. I grunted non-committally when suddenly someone tapped on my car window. Mr. Lawrence, mind if I catch a ride? Yvette Roberts asked, holding a thermos. Where are you headed? The bar, I answered honestly. Her face suddenly changed. The bar? I know life is short, but you don't need to take shortcuts, do you? I was speechless, but Yvette decided, I'm coming too. As your doctor, I need to keep an eye on you. When we pushed open the door to the private room, Wendy Griffiths looked like she had just lost another drinking game. She tilted her head back, her slender fingers touching the corner of her lips, signaling the man beside her to kiss her. This gesture was familiar to me. In the past, when Wendy faced career setbacks and was too upset to speak, she would curl up in my arms, nuzzle her head into the crook of my neck, then point to the corner of her lips. Then I would lean down and kiss her, like wounded beasts licking each other's wounds, warming each other in the cold, deep night. At this moment, I suddenly felt a chill. How did we end up like this when we once loved and depended on each other so much? I stood there for as long as that man kissed her, a long, deep kiss. Seeing me, Wendy's eyes showed a moment of panic. Hey, 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 everyone, Mr. Lawrence is here. A colleague pulled me into the room, smiling ingratiatingly. Let me introduce you all, Simon Lawrence, VP of the entertainment company. Our talented newcomer Wendy Griffiths is from his company. Wendy stood up, but her movement faltered slightly when she saw Yvette Roberts beside me. Her gaze revealed danger and displeasure, but Yvette didn't flinch, meeting her eyes directly. Fearless as a newborn calf, that's all I could say. My friend swirled his glass. But I heard Mr. Lawrence isn't in the best health. You should take it easy, having just been discharged today. Hearing the word discharged, Wendy froze for a moment before stammering. I didn't know Mr. Lawrence was in hospital. If I'd known, I would have brought some flowers. I've been so busy with the magazine cover shoot, it slipped my mind. The whole world knew I was in hospital, except my wife. I mocked her lightly. Oh, what's the theme for Miss Griffith's next cover? A scandalous romance. Wendy was startled, her doe eyes widening. Don't tease Wendy, Mr. Lawrence. She's quite shy. The soft boy stepped forward, putting his arm around her waist, ignoring her discomfort and asserting his possessiveness with youthful tactics. I spoke with hidden barbs. Shy? Like having a row with her boyfriend on Valentine's Day and not daring to tell her husband, kind of shy. Seeing my pointed remarks, Wendy became angry with embarrassment. Mr. Lawrence brings an innocent girl to a nightclub late at night. Hardly seems proper either. She always shouted when she felt guilty, trying to cover up the issue. I replied airily, well, I've never claimed to be proper, have I? The atmosphere grew tense. The next moment, another classmate came to tease. Wendy, you and Gary have kept things so secret. If you hadn't appeared together today, who would have known the drama school's campus belle and the younger school hunk would make such a good match? Another chimed in. Exactly. Even Digger and those famous paparazzi couldn't get any gossip about you too. Is there good news coming soon? As they said this, I glanced up slightly. Under the hazy, dizzying bar lights, I saw the smile spreading across Gary's lips. Having navigated the business world for years, I was all too familiar with the meaning of that smile. A challenge. Earlier in the car, I had carefully watched the video of the two of them being intimate, leaked by the paparazzi. In one frame I paused on, Gary had looked directly at the camera. He knew they were being filmed. He was deliberately provoking me. It didn't matter. I looked away indifferently, only offering a cold smile. Just a cold smile. No heartache, because my heart had long since stopped beating through countless sleepless nights. The affection between Wendy and me had been worn away by her so-called trivial scandals. Now, whoever this woman was with, it was all the same to me, as long as she didn't soil my clothes. As the conversation turned to the upcoming nuptials, a girl chimed in. "You lot always talking about marriage. Wendy's a career-driven powerhouse. She's got top influencers for her album production and Sir Lawrence for the lyrics. It's not every day you can get such big names on board." The crowd around them cheered. "That's right. We're so jealous. She's nailing both her career and love life. Gary's still so young. You two have a long road ahead." Wendy Griffiths, basking in the flattery, leaned back lazily on the sofa with a coy smile. Indeed, her soft boy was so young. With my illness, I'd only be a burden. Any sensible person would use me as a stepping stone, let alone Wendy. The thought made me laugh bitterly as I reached for my drink. In the next moment, warm fingers covered mine, making me suddenly aware of how cold my hands had become. "You've just been discharged from hospital today," Yvette Roberts gently reminded me. I coughed lightly. "I'm just keeping up appearances. I promise not to drink." The young woman raised an eyebrow. "I don't believe you. Your stomach was ruined by drinking before." Yes, my stomach was ruined by drinking. To help Wendy secure a top album production team, I drank pints of ale. To help her get publicity for the Golden Lyricist, I drank night after night. At the pub, I'd drink to seal deals. For the impossible tasks, I'd push myself to the limit. I thought unrequited devotion would be rewarded. I thought long-term companionship would earn a glance back. But now I've learned a cruel lesson. Since ancient times, true hearts have been destined to be trampled upon. Somehow, the drinking party turned into a game of truth or dare. Wendy Griffiths lost and was goaded into downing 3 drinks and kissing a soft boy. She boldly chugged a bottle of ale, passing the last mouthful deeply to Gary Bennett. The liquid spilled from their lips, glistening under the dazzling lights. The people around them grew even more excited. In the past, at drinking parties, Wendy always pretended to be a delicate flower who couldn't handle her alcohol. Then I would play along, shielding her from drinks, knocking back round after round like a madman. Now I realized she might be able to drink even more than me. The crowd around us clapped and cheered. Wendy's emotions were running high, and she nodded slightly at me. She thought I would react like before, getting insanely jealous at the slightest provocation. I would respond with a smile. "Jealous? Sorry, I have a weak stomach, can't handle sour things." The next round seemed deliberately targeted at me, and I lost to Wendy. She picked up her glass smugly, the ice cubes still swirling in the ale, reflecting the lights into my eyes. "Mr. Lawrence, 3 drinks." The crowd chanted, "Down 3 drinks." Gary Bennett, who had long wanted to stir up trouble between Wendy and me, added fuel to the fire. "How is 3 drinks enough? Wendy just downed a whole bottle. Since Mr. Lawrence brought someone too, why not give her a kiss?" At these words, Wendy's smile faded, and she glared at Gary in disapproval. Gary still didn't know when to stop and continued to hype up the atmosphere. "Kiss! Kiss!" I habitually reached for my glass but was stopped. "He can't drink." The young woman's words were gentle but unyielding. Gary's tone was mocking. "I didn't expect Mr. Lawrence to be such a killjoy. I'll drink for him." Yvette Roberts was determined, then naively allowed herself to be plied with drinks. After 3 glasses, her ears turned bright red. An unusual feeling arose in my heart. In the past, I was always the one shielding others from drinks. Now, this silly girl with her soft but fearless back was shielding me from the storm. As far as I knew, Yvette had excellent academic credentials and had spent most of these years studying at school. She had no chance to experience the dazzling yet dark underbelly of society and these superficially glamorous drinking parties. She didn't understand the rules. These cunning people didn't care if you could drink or not. They were just testing your obedience. I was about to snatch the glass from her hand when she leaned in close, her eyes seemingly filled with thousands of intertwining vines, entangling and alluring. "Simon, can I kiss you?" This girl came from a good family with good manners and always knew her boundaries. In the many days we'd known each other, she had always maintained a reasonable social distance, sweetly addressing me as Mr. Lawrence every time we met. But now, drunk, she dared to call me by my name and even hold my hand. By chance, a light kiss fell on my Adam's apple, her lips as soft as clouds. "Sir." After the fleeting kiss, she murmured softly, with a hint of tenderness and seduction. Mixed with the alcohol, it was incredibly alluring. My Adam's apple bobbed. The word "sir" had so many meanings. Polite, intimate. Realizing she hadn't kissed my lips, Yvette was unsatisfied. Her alcohol-addled brain urged her to continue. Her warm body pressed against me again. At that moment, my heart, which had been like dead ashes, suddenly reignited. That feeling of being on the brink of death and then reborn, accompanied by this passionate kiss, captivated me. Crash! At that very moment, Wendy stood up abruptly, knocking over several glasses that shattered on the floor. All the intimacy came to a sudden halt. "Stop drinking." I spoke to Yvette as if soothing a child, tapping the tip of her nose with my index finger. "If I don't drink, you'll have to," she stubbornly replied. "I'm following doctor's orders. When I say I won't drink, I won't. Don't you trust me?" I tried to reason with her. Yvette, her long, fair arms wrapped around mine, slurred. "Your hand just now, it was reaching for the glass." "Yes, I was reaching for the glass, but that doesn't mean I was going to drink," I explained. Yvette looked confused. "Then what were you planning to do?" Indeed, what was I planning to do? I stood up and approached Gary. Wendy reacted belatedly. As I drew near, she instinctively raised her hand to protect the man behind her. I threw a glass of ale in Gary's face, my tone icy, meddlesome. After that, ignoring Wendy's thunderous expression, I picked up Yvette and left the party. Everyone was shocked. After dropping Yvette Roberts off at her staff accommodation, her roommate looked at me with bright eyes and said with a smile, "Yvette never drinks normally. Last time a suitor took her to a pub for a date, she blocked him right after." Great, I thought, I'm going to be blocked this time. When I got home, Wendy Griffiths walked out of the bathroom wrapped in a towel. Undoubtedly, she was the most eye-catching at the entire party tonight. With her wavy hair, off-shoulder red dress revealing her delicate shoulder blades, and uniquely alluring voice, any man who saw her would only sigh that she was a stunner. At this moment, the warm yellow light from the bathroom illuminated her skin, making it appear as white as jade. She stepped barefoot onto the wet floor, the towel loosely wrapped around her shapely figure. I walked past her without a glance. "Can a little wildflower from the roadside really catch your eye?" She blocked my way, speaking in a sarcastic tone. I retorted, "No matter how many flowers I touch, I'm still not as promiscuous as you, am I? How many is it now?" In recent years, relationships between older women and younger men have become sickeningly sweet. Who doesn't like young and sunny lads? A hint of darkness flashed in Wendy's eyes. "What do you mean by how many? This is just a friend I met during a business trip. Can't you be a bit more open-minded?" As she spoke, she stepped forward and wrapped her arms around my waist, pressing her left cheek against my chest. The towel slipped off, completely naked. The rule of "don't look at what's improper" probably doesn't apply to us. The steam from the bathroom blurred the scene before me. I unconsciously raised my hand, my rough fingertips brushing across the nape of her neck. She shuddered. Having shared a bed for so long, I knew where her most sensitive spots were. Vivid, suggestive marks appeared on the side of her neck, dotted with kiss marks, strikingly eye-catching. That soft boy, despite having no contact with me, had repeatedly pushed my boundaries, using the dullest knife to slowly torture my heart. I gently leaned down close to her lips, but my tone was ice-cold. "Next time when giving love bites, avoid this area. Be careful not to damage the carotid sinus. or you might die quickly." With that, I pushed her away. Wendy, belatedly realizing, became furious. "Simon Lawrence, what the hell is wrong with you? Did that little doctor tell you this too? Do you despise me that much?" I started to feel nauseous, seemingly feeling the burning sensation of stomach acid rising in my throat. I corrected her words. "She's a doctor who graduated from the country's top medical school. It's not despise, I'm just tired." After a long while, Wendy finished a slim cigarette. "Simon, do you want a divorce?" There was a hint of threat in her words. She knew I couldn't bear to. "Yes, I'm really tired," I agreed. Her motion of stubbing out the cigarette paused. "My wallet is tired too. I've lost count of how much money I've paid to the paparazzi. The first time was when I was out networking for Wendy, and on my way home, I got into a car accident. I was limping alone in the orthopedic department waiting for an X-ray. At that time, my career had just started to take off, but the money hadn't come in yet. I was even thinking that surgery would be quite expensive, wondering if I should just go to a small clinic to save some money. Then a stranger added me on social media, and right off the bat sent me an intimate photo, hitting me like a ton of bricks. They opened with a demand for £10,000 in hush money, leaving me completely dazed and confused. A year has passed, and once again, I clearly felt the pain in my heart from that day, the feeling of my fingers trembling so much I couldn't hold my bank card. I think this must be what it feels like when your heart dies. Wendy still didn't understand. "You want a divorce over this little incident tonight?" I replied seriously, "Yes, precisely because of this." She stormed off, slamming the bedroom door shut and leaving me outside. We didn't see each other for a week, and I focused on my work. The solicitor began drafting the divorce agreement and handling the property division. One night, I placed the divorce papers on her bedside table, unconsciously ignoring the photo frame there. Those signs of infidelity were like cockroaches. Once you spot one, they're everywhere, and they breed rapidly, nearly impossible to eradicate completely. But I didn't want to search for cockroaches anymore. I didn't want to play Sherlock Holmes in this low-quality love story. It was pointless. From that day on, I began to focus on my own career, using the pretext of securing resources for Wendy to build my own network. A few days after leaving the divorce papers, Wendy's mom caught wind of the situation and came over. The old lady busied herself in the kitchen for hours, surprisingly producing a large spread of dishes. Wendy sat at the table, engrossed in her phone. The soft light, the twilight outside, the aroma of food, a family gathered together. This was the image of home I had imagined. But why did it feel so wrong? "Simon's back. I've got some mushrooms for you from a friend. You can stew them. They're good for the stomach," Wendy's mom said, smiling as she ushered me to sit next to her daughter. "What else would you like? Mom can make it for you." I looked up at Wendy, who sat there silently, and deliberately asked, "Darling, could you make me some noodles?" She remained motionless, but after a pointed look from her mother, she reluctantly went to boil some noodles. 5 minutes later, a bowl of noodles was placed in front of me, the broth splashing onto my hand. Long ago, when I'd come home after a night of drinking with clients, she'd make me a bowl of noodles when she saw me feeling ill. She knew I couldn't stomach fatty meat, so she'd pick out the lean bits, slice them thinly, add some spring greens and spring onions for garnish, and season with sesame oil. Simple noodles, but full of care. Even without fancy ingredients, it made my mouth water. Now, the noodles on the table were hastily boiled, looking unappetizing. I still took a bite. They were undercooked and tasteless, like chewing on rubber. Having seen how Wendy used to care for me, I could now clearly perceive her indifference. With the atmosphere set, Wendy's mom began her reconciliation efforts. "Simon, if you and your wife have any misunderstandings, sit down and talk it through properly. Young people shouldn't talk about separation so lightly. Your relationship is really different from our generation. It's like a refrigerator. When ours broke down, we'd think about fixing it. You lot just want to replace it. That's not good." Ring, ring. Wendy's phone rang. The dead silence in the room made the ringtone particularly clear. The caller seemed to say something that made her stand up abruptly, knocking over the soup on the table. "What's wrong?" Wendy's mom asked, bewildered. Wendy's face was grave. "Can't eat now, I have some work to deal with." Before anyone could ask further, she had stormed out, slamming the door and leaving her mother and me staring at each other. The room fell into silence once again. The old lady stood up, poured me a glass of milk, then took my noodles back to the pot. This time they were thoroughly cooked. She had always been very kind to me. When we got married, both our families were poor. She had melted down her meager dowry to make a 5-gram gold ring for me. That was all the sincerity she could offer. "We can't slight our son-in-law. You're my second son now," she had said then. As an orphan, from that moment I felt I had a family. Eat first. With a bad stomach, it's even more important to eat regularly. And drink less. Cough, cough. Wendy's mum started coughing violently, as if her internal organs were about to burst. "You need to go for regular checkups and take care of yourself. That way, I can rest in peace when I'm gone." I quickly patted her back. "Mum, let's go to the city hospital now." Wendy might not care for her mum, but I couldn't ignore it. Years of illness had left her bedridden, yet she still struggled to come see Wendy and me. It broke my heart. She weakly waved her hand, sitting there gasping for air. Just then, my secretary sent me a photo. Wendy was at a hospital in another city having dinner with Gary. "Mr. Lawrence, I think I saw Miss Griffiths," the message said. It also mentioned that Gary had a sudden acute condition. The photo was blurry, but I could clearly see the style of the lunchbox. It was the strawberry bear design I had customized when I used to bring her lunch, with our initials engraved inside. Suddenly, I felt nauseous and dizzy. The old lady was still holding my hand, saying sadly, "Wendy is a good girl. She's just temporarily lost her way. She remembers all the good things you've done for her." I smiled bitterly. "Mum, do you really believe what you're saying?" A wave of dizziness hit me, and I could no longer stand. I collapsed. Before losing consciousness, I saw the old lady's cloudy eyes brighten for a moment. Then she sighed heavily. "Yes, Wendy has let you down." The familiar smell of disinfectant in the hospital brought back a dream. I dreamt of our 3rd wedding anniversary night. I was in the hospital room, unshaven, holding a knife and crying hysterically, threatening to kill myself if Wendy Griffiths dared to step out of the room. But even with my life on the line, I couldn't win back her heart that had already flown away. "Simon, don't be ridiculous. We'll have many more anniversaries," she said cruelly. The scene shifted to our bedroom, where we were the most familiar strangers sleeping in the same bed. She always had her back to me, playing on her phone, leaving me with a cold and distant silhouette. If only she had spent less time flirting with softbois. If only she had pretended to care and looked back at me once, she would have noticed how I was drenched in cold sweat from stomach pain. That year was truly my darkest hour. Everyone thought I was invincible, still optimistic and smiling after countless rejections from investors and mockery from people in the industry. But in moments of reminiscence, confusion, and sudden awakening, the suppressed pain would be released, torturing my nerves like a saw. I was actually on the verge of breaking down. It seemed I couldn't wake up. Suddenly, a pair of hands touched my brow, gently caressing my eyes, nose, and lips like a soft summer night breeze. "Simon, it's you again." A gentle voice, unlike Wendy's coldness, called my name. I struggled to wake from my dream, but my eyelids were too heavy to lift. "I've been waiting for your message, but you busy bee didn't even send me an emoji." Then came the sound of medical records being flipped, and the person spoke with an annoyed tone. "Low blood sugar, skipped meals. Recently diagnosed with early-stage stomach cancer and had endoscopic mucosal resection." Finally, she said in a pouty, aggrieved manner, "You said you'd follow doctor's orders, but the test results aren't good." I suddenly opened my eyes and met her gaze as she leaned close, Yvette Roberts' breath on the tip of my nose. Her doe eyes flashed with panic, and she was about to pull away. but I reached out and caught her, causing her to fall on top of me. The blush on her face hadn't faded since I woke up. "I thought you'd blocked me," I tentatively spoke. "So I didn't dare contact you, afraid of being scolded." My voice was hoarse. Her ears turned crimson as she hurriedly opened a simple lunchbox. "I made some broth. I usually prefer mild flavors. I hope it suits your taste." I saw the fragrant, creamy broth and my stomach began to rumble. Before even tasting it, I quickly said, "It'll be perfect." I then asked, "No surgery today?" "When I saw you were admitted last night, the head consultant approved my 2-day annual leave this morning." She held up 2 slender fingers. "This is my first time off in 6 months." There was another important question I belatedly realized. Who brought me to the hospital? Yvette went to inquire and came back to tell me. An elderly person called 999, but when the paramedics arrived, the old man had also collapsed. He was later diagnosed with a cerebral hemorrhage and is now in critical condition in the ICU, with no one to look after him. I panicked and tried to get out of bed, but stumbled. "Please save her. I'm willing to pay whatever it costs." Wendy might be ungrateful, but I can't be. Yvette pushed me back into bed. "Eat first, my colleagues will do their best." I couldn't sleep all evening, feeling uneasy, as if I had some ominous premonition. Even when I dozed off, I saw people in black and white clothes wandering the hospital corridors with cold expressions. "Are you cold?" Yvette squeezed my hand. "A bit," I said. Yvette lifted the blanket and lay down beside me. "How about now?" My body stiffened, but I couldn't stop the warmth flowing from the young woman's body. She handed me her wired earphones, sharing her music and syncing her heartbeat with mine. "It's beautiful." I was enchanted. "Yes, but this singer, Nettie Brown, isn't popular at all," Yvette lamented. Nettie Brown, the one Wendy had barely beaten for the Best Newcomer award that year. As the song ended, I couldn't help but say, "Yvette, I'm 30 this year." "So?" I could clearly feel the person next to me tense up. I sighed. "I'm not as energetic as you young people anymore." Yvette exhaled in relief. "You scared me. I thought you were going to reject me." "Age is just a number. It only represents how long you've been tied to this world." After saying this, she relaxed and snuggled closer into my embrace. But the close distance still wasn't enough to satisfy her. She propped herself up on her elbow to look at me, her hair brushing against my collarbone. "Mr. Lawrence, I've been watching you for a long time." In the dim light, the woman's long lashes were lowered, but her gaze was almost greedy as it traced over my features inch by inch. "Have we known each other for long?" I smiled. Surely she hadn't been secretly in love with me since her school days. That would be too cliché. She shook her head. "When I was little, I watched A Chinese Odyssey, and the goddess of mercy said her true love was a great hero who would come to marry her on a rainbow cloud. I believed it, but I never imagined my true love wouldn't ride a rainbow cloud and would turn out to be a stubbly old man in blue and white striped hospital pajamas." "Stubbly old man?" I was taken aback. Her thoughts drifted. That day, he had just had an argument with his wife in the hospital room and looked dejected and frustrated, but the next second he jumped up and kicked a knife-wielding attacker. That incident caused quite a stir, and I was the doctor who almost got stabbed. The incident? I did witness something like that on our 3rd wedding anniversary night, when Wendy ignored my pleas and stormed out. I dragged my sick body to chase after her, but she walked so quickly and urgently. I helplessly watched her departing figure, feeling miserable and dejected. At that moment, a commotion broke out in the hospital lobby, with a patient's relative brandishing a knife. The anger I had been suppressing had nowhere to go, and this person happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. I knocked him to the ground with one kick, beating him until he cried for mercy. The male doctor next door immediately took off his white coat and joined the fray when he saw what was happening. "How am I a stubbly old man?" I complained. Yvette's laughter rang like bells as she pressed her forehead against my neck. It was strange. She was smaller than me, but she made the whole hospital room feel safe. Outside the window, the night breeze rustled, blowing down yellow leaves. Looking up, you could see the North Star twinkling by the window, and the gentle streetlights cast our cuddling silhouettes on the ground. Even if we all eventually become mere silhouettes in the long river of history, it doesn't stop us from inviting the starry sky at this moment. Hurry up and be with me, my true love. Even the goddess of mercy would be running out of patience by now. The devastating news came without warning. Wendy Griffith's mother, my mother-in-law, had passed away. Her heart stopped at 5 in the morning, and she was pronounced dead at 5:20. I accompanied the old lady on her final journey. "Mr. Lawrence?" The doctor sighed. "The patient left a note for you in her final moments." The last words were straightforward. "Live your own life." The final stroke of the last word remained unfinished. I was overwhelmed with grief, but in moments of extreme sorrow, one often finds it impossible to cry out loud. I just sat quietly in the room, staring at the gold ring and the winter jumper the old lady had knitted for me before she died. She never got to see me wear it in winter. "She told you to live your own life, not to torment yourself," Yvette Roberts said patiently. "If it weren't for her, I might have forgotten to eat again. In the most difficult times, only she stayed by my side, supporting me against the overwhelming waves of sorrow." During the burial, Wendy Griffiths rushed into the cemetery like a madwoman. "Mom, your daughter has failed you. I've failed you." She wailed incessantly at the grave, her cries earth-shattering, as if desperate for the whole world to know what a dutiful daughter she was. I couldn't stand it anymore. I grabbed her arm and pulled her away. "Stay away from her. Let the old lady rest in peace. She's my mother, what's it to you?" Wendy glared at me with reddened eyes. I held back my anger. "Right, what is it to me? But who bought her medicine when she was ill all these years? Who took her for annual checkups? Who saw her for the last time? Who arranged the funeral? It was all me. How many times did you visit her when she was ill? How many times did you miss our agreed weekend dinners? Where were you when I was alone, trying everything to make her happy? That day, she worked from noon till dusk, and you left without eating a bite, giving her the cold shoulder. She died with regrets. Can your conscience be at peace?" As I spoke, my eyes began to sting. Her face turned pale, and she clenched her fists, her whole body starting to tremble. Finally, I gritted my teeth. "Wendy Griffiths, you don't deserve to be called a child." With this, the only bond between Wendy Griffiths and me was thoroughly severed. After a fortnight of rest, I once again began to numb myself with work. Yvette Roberts mentioned how much she adored the voice of Nettie Brown, a female singer. So, on the weekend, I took her to the recording studio to listen to Nettie Brown's live recording of her new song. This was the most advanced recording studio in all of London, occupying nearly 6,000 square feet in the heart of the city where space comes at a premium. It included a 3D sound studio, mixing studio, mastering studio, and more. The equipment was top-notch, and bookings were always full. The new song began with a melody that sank from melancholy to despair. The female voice teetered on the edge of breaking, as if the inner soul had reached the pinnacle of desperation and loneliness, yet still retained a sense of pride and disdain. But as the chorus kicked in, the melody came to life. With the gradually rising female voice, it was as if the world transformed from a scene of devastation to one of spring's renewal, soothing hearts that had long since turned to ashes. A masterpiece from a lyrical genius, it was bound to be exquisite. Yvette was completely immersed. As the song ended, her eyes were brimming with tears. Despite being accustomed to life and death in the hospital, she still yearned for the vibrant rhythms of life. This rejuvenating power she possessed always healed me in unexpected moments. Nettie noticed me and excitedly put down her headphones. "Mr. Lawrence, what brings you here?" I lounged lazily on the sofa. "I've got a young lady here who's quite fond of your voice. How's the progress on the new album?" "What young lady? I'm only a few years younger than you," Yvette playfully chided. Nettie had long struggled to make her mark, at one point reduced to singing in pubs to make ends meet. Few remembered that she had once been a strong contender for the Best Newcomer award at the Brit Awards. But just last week, my secretary had reached out to her. The company was willing to give her a chance, not letting this hidden gem remain obscured. Nettie immediately signed the contract and started recording new songs this week. Compared to Wendy Griffith's previous tantrums and diva behavior, Nettie was cooperative and sensible, and progress suddenly leapt forward. The album, originally scheduled for completion at the year's end, was now 3 months ahead of schedule. Indeed, with fewer entanglements, the world seemed brighter. But just then, my assistant burst into the office area of the recording studio, looking flustered. "Mr. Lawrence, Miss Griffiths wants to see you." We couldn't stop her. Before he could finish, a familiar figure pushed past him. It was Wendy Griffiths. Along with her entrance came the smell of alcohol. She looked somewhat haggard, her lips dry and pale, but upon seeing me, her eyes brimmed with wild joy. "Simon, you're finally willing to see me? Why haven't you replied to my WhatsApp messages?" "Really? I don't recall seeing any." "Oh right. She's been on my block list since last week's funeral." My expression remained impassive. "What are you doing here?" Meanwhile, everyone in the office automatically exited, leaving us alone. She noticed Nettie leaving and saw the paper documents on the desk. Her doe eyes widened. "Wasn't that song supposed to be for me? Wasn't that the agreement? And why has the entire production team stopped contacting me? What about all the resources you signed for me before? Where have they gone?" I remained silent, because the facts were right there in front of her. Seeing my silence, she panicked. She grabbed my arm tightly, struggling to maintain a calm demeanor. "Simon, believe me, I truly had feelings for you. Can't we put all those unpleasant things behind us? Our 4th anniversary is coming up soon. Can't we celebrate it properly?" Looking at her feigned expression, I felt nauseated. My gaze slowly fell on her hand gripping my arm, and the corner of my mouth curved slightly. What good is this belated show of affection? I brushed off her hand. "Sign the divorce papers and send them to me. Let's part ways amicably, and the outcome won't be too bad." Seeing her act was useless, she sneered mockingly. "Are you so eager to be with that woman? If Simon Lawrence is such a heartless bastard, what kind of good person could she be? What does she want from you? Is it because you're older, or because you don't shower?" I laughed bitterly. "Don't just throw around baseless accusations. What did Gary Bennett love about you then? Did he love your vulnerable side, or your cheap demeanor? Is it that anyone who calls you sister can get you into bed for next to nothing?" Wendy's face darkened, and she squeezed out half a sentence through gritted teeth. "In my personal opinion, she's not suitable for you." I cut her off, enunciating each word. "Stop with your personal opinions. You're not even a person. And no matter what I am, I'm still better than a cheating, never-home slag." She flew into a rage, hurling all the documents from the desk at me. "Simon, do you have to be so nasty?" I recalled the 4K high-definition and censored videos sent by the paparazzi to my email, and felt disgusted again. "Am I being nasty? Ever since you left me in that hospital room, I left my feelings there too. If you still have any sense of propriety, just sign the divorce papers. I'll leave you some face." Wendy panicked. "No, I won't." I shrugged. "Suit yourself. We've been separated for 2 years anyway. The court will make its decision." Yvette knocked on the door, gently reminding me it was lunchtime. Before leaving, Wendy, tears streaming down her face, said, "Do you hate me that much? You're taking back all the endorsements and resources you signed for me." I put my arm around Yvette's waist and looked at Wendy with pity. "I don't hate you. Hate is too heavy a burden for my featherlight life to bear. Also, I'm a profit-driven businessman. I could make you famous, and I can do the same for Nettie, whom you've trampled underfoot for 10 years. Wendy Griffiths, I'm not irreplaceable either." Her expression suddenly changed, first to anger, then to fear and unease. But I no longer cared to look. Yvette had just overheard the talk about divorce, and her lips hadn't stopped curling upwards since we left. So for this dinner, Dr. Roberts graciously ordered me seafood, which she usually forbids me from touching. While waiting for the food, she tentatively asked me, "The lyrics say hatred is easier to let go of than love. Is that true?" I was stumped by this question. I'm a rather stubborn person. When I love, I cling on till death. When I hate, I cut all ties. Even if we end up in hospital from a physical fight while clinging on, I wouldn't want to separate. Once I hate, it's a clean break. Dragging things out and being wishy-washy isn't manly. But after separating, I didn't hate Wendy Griffiths as much as I had imagined. I pondered for a moment before answering. Maybe I don't want to taste any of those flavors anymore. I'm more interested in the long-awaited lobster. The fragrant aroma of lobster wafted over. Having eaten bland food for quite some time, I was instantly moved to tears. Yvette lowered her gaze. "I'm going to the loo." I thought my clumsy answer had upset the young lady and was wondering how to make it up to her. Would a diamond ring be good, or gold? Or perhaps VIP tickets to Nettie Brown's comeback concert? But the next second, darkness suddenly fell, as if there had been a power cut, pitch black all around. I instinctively stood up, intending to open the door and call for a waiter. Just as my hands touched the door handle, the door was suddenly pushed open. Surprise! "Happy birthday to you." The birthday song rang out. A party popper exploded with a bang, and my secretary, assistant, and several close friends pushed in a small trolley. Amidst the falling confetti, I saw Yvette carefully holding a gift box. The amethyst bracelet I had given her encircled her fair wrist, sparkling even more brilliantly in the light. "I haven't given you a gift yet," she said. "Let me make up for it on your birthday." It was the first time someone had celebrated my birthday so grandly. I was at a loss, and in the end, my friends pressed me to make a wish and blow out the candles first. In the candlelight, Yvette's eyes reflected my serious expression as I made my wish. The girl's joy and anticipation were undisguised, surging towards me like a tidal wave, engulfing me. She must also be anticipating what I was anticipating. The candles were blown out. The lights came on, as if it were a rebirth. "Little Simon, oh no, you're 31 this year. Old Simon, congratulations on surviving another year." Miss Roberts said this birthday was very important, and we all decided on the spot to celebrate your escape from the sea of bitterness. I held out my hands. "Where are the presents?" The group broke into a playful scuffle. "Our presence is enough. Why talk about gifts? Money talk ruins friendships." Typical of my mates. "You knew my birthday?" I asked Yvette as I took the gift box. She smiled brightly. "I saw it on your medical records and made a mental note of it." I was stunned. So, love itself is hidden in the little details of daily life. Those surrounded by love need not struggle to find proof of being loved, because with just a casual glance, it's everywhere. I felt sorry for my past self from a few years ago. Back then, I didn't understand, trying to find the slightest trace of being cared for in Wendy Griffith's perfunctory, fragmented words. But I should also be grateful for meeting the right person. She would tell me through her every action that it wasn't love that was disappointing. It was just Wendy Griffiths herself. The path to happiness always seems particularly bumpy. My solicitor informed me to prepare for a court battle, as the other party doesn't agree to the divorce. On the way to drop Yvette off at work, I desperately tried to explain to her, repeatedly assuring her that I didn't intentionally delay the process. When I was with Wendy before, she would only believe certain things if I explained them like this. This habit had unconsciously stuck with me. But Yvette gently placed her finger on my lips, giving me a goodbye kiss. "No need to explain. I never doubted you. I've waited for you this long. A bit more time won't hurt. The city hospitals are always busy, and I brought my own medical records for a follow-up. Thanks to Yvette, my post-surgery recovery has been going well. Unfortunately, no matter how I try to avoid it, fate seems determined to make Wendy and I cross paths." Returning to the office from the hospital, Gary bumped into me, causing my old medical records to fall to the ground. Gary picked up the old records, his words tinged with a hint of schadenfreude. Mr. Lawrence, is this a stomach cancer diagnosis? I was about to reach for the records when Wendy, at his side, snatched them away. After a moment, she cautiously asked me, Simon, did you divorce me because you didn't want to burden me? Her eyes still held a glimmer of hope. You've been reading too many novels. Do you think I joke about something like this? I took out the report showing good health results, cruelly extinguishing her hope. Sorry, but as long as you're alive, I certainly won't be dying. Besides, I wouldn't count on Wendy going mad after my death. She'd only shed a few crocodile tears at my grave, then use my money to keep softbois and influencers. Rather than feed the dogs, I'd rather spend it on myself. So, not only do I plan to live well, I intend to live better than her, watching her go mad, grow old, and be buried before me. I'll send an extravagant funeral wreath to her grave. That's when I'll feel satisfied. Wendy, her heart turned to ashes, showed a hint of madness in her eyes. Fine. Then explain these photos I found in your drawer. A stack of photos was thrown at me. They were the most conservative, intimate shots the paparazzi had taken of her, basically only showing her back and side profile. My first encounter with Wendy was at a drinks party. She was young and naive then, tricked into a private room by some directors who had drugged her. I was young too, and without a second thought, I went to disrupt those scumbags' plans. But I arrived too late. The compromising photos had already been taken. Later, I bought them at a high price and, fearing it would hurt her, kept them hidden away. I bent down to pick them up one by one, my face darkening. Do we really have to make a scene here? Perhaps my attitude confirmed something for her, as she looked at me with a pained expression of someone who had seen through everything. Simon, are you even human anymore? She's a singer, her voice high and piercing, instantly piercing my eardrums. It was lunchtime, and her shouting in the conference room attracted some onlookers. Wendy's eyes were bloodshot, her voice choked with tears. That night, I thought you were kind-hearted for saving me, so all these years I've been trying to repay you, working day and night at your command. If you told me to go north, I'd rush there even if I were at the South Pole. But I never imagined you'd secretly photograph me. Did you predict we'd separate, so you prepared this leverage to control me in advance? You knew how much these photos would hurt me. Simon, your methods are utterly despicable. I wonder if those around you have noticed how calculating, vicious, and cunning you are, with a depth of scheming that's nauseating. As her words fell, it was like a thunderbolt from a clear sky. The onlookers began to speculate and discuss. I couldn't help but marvel at her ability to twist black and white. It was like she had woven an airtight net, which when tightened would ruin my reputation while allowing her to escape unscathed. I stared at her intently, unmoved by her tear-stained face. I hadn't wanted to embarrass her in public, knowing that such exposure would be devastating for an artist. This was the last shred of dignity I was leaving her. But she didn't appreciate it. Sigh. The conference room was packed with the company's artists, inside and out. I took an inconspicuous step forward, my mind unnaturally calm at this moment. Wendy, I'm asking you, you never loved me. I did. You didn't. I really did. I slammed the photos on the table. Loving me but choosing to cheat is far more despicable than never loving me at all. When we got married, you said you'd love me forever. Were those promises just empty words to you? But I took them seriously. I never imagined your forever would only last 3 years. It's a pity, but now that your forever is over, you're no different from a dead person to me. If I had known you were this kind of person, I wouldn't have given you a second glance back then. I should have just let your private photos spread all over the internet. Wendy's voice weakened, mumbling, "What?" Seeing her stunned, I twisted the knife. I have many more of your scandals in my email, high resolution and uncensored. How many would you like to see? The paparazzi contacted me again yesterday, but I'm not going to cover for you anymore. With that money, I could buy Yvette a new car. She's too tired from taking the bus to work. Wendy's knuckles turned white as she gripped the photos, her nails digging into her palms, drawing blood. "So you knew all along." Seeing her unable to recover, I deliberately walked over and whispered like a devil, "By the way, I suggest you look into Gary. He owns 30% of that entertainment magazine company that often breaks big news. So now you know who took your photos." The last sentence completely shattered her. Gary, standing beside her, turned ashen, swaying on his feet. Guilty. "Simon, don't spout nonsense." I couldn't be bothered to argue with him. "You have no say in this, you bottom feeder thinking you're a big fish just because you've tasted some success?" Wendy's hands began to shake. She covered her face, seeming to both laugh and cry, all reason gone in an instant. But the physical pain was nothing compared to the despair in her heart. It was as if a corrosive poison was slowly eating away at her heart, burning it, yet she couldn't faint, only allowing the boundless pain to spread. As I was about to step out, she suddenly grabbed my foot. "Simon, don't give up on me. I know I was wrong. I really know I was wrong." Her words were broken, her sanity on the brink of collapse. My expression remained cold and indifferent as I shook off her hand, gesturing for my secretary to deal with her. Walking out of the conference room, I ran into Nettie. "Nettie, do you think I'm calculating, cunning, and deeply scheming?" Nettie gave me a thumbs up. "No, you're a good person." "Me?" Most of the staff in the company were our own people, so they naturally kept today's events confidential. While internal matters were contained, I couldn't control external affairs. Because I had been ignoring messages from the paparazzi, they quickly spread rumors about Wendy Griffiths everywhere. Her Twitter account collapsed. She had portrayed herself as single but changed boyfriends frequently, claimed to be innocent yet was often seen at nightclubs, and presented herself as hardworking but frequently acted like a diva. Showbiz has always been a place where people pile on when someone's down, and everyone likes to see others in trouble. Over the past few days, album production teams, planning groups, and industry insiders have been constantly leaking scandalous information about Wendy Griffiths. This talented newcomer plummeted overnight. The next steps were simple. Her bad reputation would cause huge losses for the company. All commercial activities, endorsements, and collaborations would be canceled, and she would face enormous breach of contract penalties. Of course, while one's own failure is terrifying, the success of a rival is even more heart-wrenching. Nettie Brown, who had previously been overshadowed by Wendy Griffiths, made a comeback. Her new song and concert tour garnered unprecedented attention, bringing in a huge wave of popularity that helped me earn a fortune. It even earned back several times the enormous sums I had paid to the paparazzi over the years. "Mr. Lawrence, your ex-wife has slit her wrists," my secretary called to inform me. "She's been saved, but she's making a fuss about seeing you. Do you want to visit her?" At that moment, I was waiting outside the hospital for Yvette Roberts to finish her shift. "Sorry, I have a wedding photo shoot tomorrow," I replied. Secretary, understood. After being secretly married for years, I had never experienced a wedding photo shoot, let alone had a proper wedding ceremony. At this moment, I felt as unfamiliar and excited as a young person getting married for the first time. So during the wedding photo shoot, the photographer was puzzled. "Groom, are you not familiar with the bride?" "Bride? You haven't hired a stand-in, have you?" Yvette Roberts and I looked at each other awkwardly. She looked at me as if I were a specimen, and I looked at her as if she were a stranger. "Now, get closer and give each other a kiss," the photographer instructed. "Shall we make up for that unsuccessful kiss at the pub?" I teased. "You're heartless." Yvette Roberts' ears turned red as she stood on her tiptoes. I gazed into her eyes and felt lost for a moment. Her doe eyes with their dark pupils were like a pool of spring water, easy to get lost in. "Yes, yes, yes. Keep that pose." The photographer frantically took shots. After the shoot, he remarked, "That was really good." There was one photo where Yvette Roberts was leaning against my chest, looking up at me. The lighting was soft and hazy, but you could clearly see the sparkle in her eyes and that deep, ambiguous smile. This subtle intimacy was like the fleeting moment when you accidentally touch someone's hand and quickly pull away. I casually gave the photographer a generous tip, and he was overjoyed. "You're very generous, sir. Here's my business card. Please hire me for your next wedding. I offer a full range of services: wedding photography, divorce shoots, reception coverage, affair documentation, funeral photography, guaranteed satisfaction." I was speechless. After receiving the finished album, I held it and looked at it for a long time, then closed my eyes to savor the moment. Yvette Roberts waved her hand in front of my eyes. "Do you need Doryman's memory bread? One bite and you'll remember the entire scene." I pulled her closer to my chest. "I'm not trying to remember. I'm trying to delete memories." She poked my chest in dissatisfaction. I held her hand and sighed with a smile. "I'm deleting old memories. It's a way of letting go, because it points towards a completely new beginning."